What's up? Welcome back to Where Are All My Friends? This week is with Sebastian Rodriguez, and this was such a fun episode for me for a couple reasons. One, it is so rare for me to meet somebody that shares the love of music and cars at the level that I do. I feel like those two things don't always go together. And when I met Sebastian and he had that, I was just like, yo, there's something about you. And the other thing about him is his work is absolutely incredible. He's an amazing photographer, some of truly my favorite work. And in his story, as we tell this story, something that I didn't know, something that clicked to me was just what happens when you truly, authentically follow your path and go down the route of following your interests for you, not for anyone else, but doing what's interesting and exciting to you. And the way he tells that story was so freaking cool. So I think you guys are gonna really love this episode. I certainly did. If you do, the best thing that you can do is letting us know. It means so much to me. Hit us up on Instagram. I'm at Andrew_FTW. He is S Rodriguez 92. And if you want to do me the biggest favor in the world, subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and leave me some feedback on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Helps a ton. With that said, let's get right into it. Here we are. Where are all my friends from coast to coast, making it work with staying at home? And I am with the homie Sebastian Rodriguez. And this is a cool one. We had talked about doing it even in person because you stay traveling. But it's also cool. I like the excuse to be able to do this with friends all over the country, the world right now. So thank you for taking the time to do it.
No, for sure, man. Thank you. Like you said, we've been trying to do this for such a long time, and I wish we got to do this in person because there've been so many times that we've been in person talking about this, but at least we got to do it.
Dude, I was thinking about it too, and it's like at first I was like, it's not the same, but I'm just stoked. Like, hell yeah, technology! Like, thank you for this. Thank you for letting us Skype, and it's awesome. Like, I'll take what I can get, and I've just from the conversation that we've had. I know that there's a lot of cool parts in your story, and whatever way we got to tell that, I'm down to make it happen.
Likewise.
So, sweet. So I guess my favorite way to start is just telling the audience, telling anybody listening who you are and what you do, like super briefly.
Yeah. So my name's Sebastian Rodriguez, and my girlfriend looked at me. Yeah. I'm a photographer with working mainly in the music and automotive industries.
Tight. I like that. And I think that that's, to add to that, the reason why I'm so excited to do this one with you is it's very rare that you find the person that likes both music and automotive in a way of truly understanding both sides of the culture, you know? You can loosely like something, but I feel like you have such a good, deep understanding of both, and your work shows that. So I'm really excited to get into that and hear a bit of it.
Thank you, man. Just those words mean so much.
Well, dude, right? You feel it. I feel like any kid online, anybody looking, you can just tell. You can tell by the way the car that somebody builds, what they post, the attention to detail, the artists that they focus on listening to and featuring, and you just do a really good job of, I don't know, understanding both worlds.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because it's not like I make a valiant effort to understand them. It's just my actual interests. It's not like I research them that deeply. It's part of just what I listen to and do every day since forever.
Yeah, you kind of can't fake that or force it, right? You start to get into something and you're like, wait, this is awesome. And then you start digging and you're like, wait a minute, it gets cooler. And when certain people do all of those things, you can kind of just tell wait a minute, I think we Googled the same thing endlessly forever because you understand this tiny little detail and you kind of have that nod. So take me, what I like to do is I like to start off with your story and where you found your first passion, outside of just school and the norm that everybody does. Was it cars first? Was it music first? What's that look like for you?
I think it came a lot from not knowing what what piqued my interest, but knowing that what piqued everyone else's interest around me wasn't the same. Like for example, like in the like I remember in school, like everyone's into sports and everyone's into like celebrities and like just very just like I guess quote unquote normal stuff. And I never had any inclination towards any of that. And I kind of just started becoming, in a sense, like an internet kid, just kind of like finding things on the internet to pique my interest. And that's when like I always had an interest towards cars, and I was always, I mean, I was subscribed to Super Street since I was like 9 years old or something like that.
Dude, yes.
And like in my own neighborhood growing up, there was two individuals who were big on Hondas and were always working on theirs outside. And that just as a kid, those were the people who were cool to me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
not like anything else that I was told was cool. So I guess yeah, once like in school, I became kind of a person who kind of like alienated myself in a sense because I just found things on the internet that I thought were cool, and that just aligned with cars, things that were going on in Japan, music, and then like fashion and sneakers and stuff like that. So it was all
Yeah.
stuff that like they were just like niche subcultures that like existed on the internet and not really anywhere around me. So I kind of just like inclined to I just observed a lot of stuff that was going on. You know what
Yeah,
I
like
mean?
the more it wasn't around you in person, the more you were interested to just get on the internet and dig deeper and find
Yeah.
other people anywhere that got it.
And that's what I was like a digger because I was just like I would be on forums, like I'd be on everything from like the B20 VTech forums. I don't know if you remember that from Honda's days,
Oh,
and
dude,
like
I was Honda
Honda Tech.
kid.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
at and like Honda Tech, and even like I'd be on the Subaru forums, like Nasiok or Nasoik or whatever,
Hmm.
and on Nike Talk and all these others. But I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be a watch. I'd just be like scrolling endlessly and just reading what people are talking about to each other and like what their social life within these subcultures is like and all that stuff. And that shit was just so cool to me.
Dude,
You
that's
know?
crazy. So you were on these forums, like you didn't own a Subaru, you didn't own a Honda. You were just like, you knew enough
Yeah.
to find
I didn't.
those
I
relevant
couldn't. Yeah.
forums.
I couldn't afford like the sneakers that people were talking about on Nike Talk and stuff like that. But like all that shit was just so cool to me, and that there was like these social groups built around these like niche subcultures. And that was the shit
Yeah.
that's like so interesting to me. I was like, that's the cool stuff. In my head, I was just like, these
Yeah.
are the people that are cool. The people that are doing this stuff that they find so interesting that they just dive their life into it.
Dude, I
And
feel that. What age was that?
that must have been um like 12 or 13.
Okay, so like yeah, like before you could even drive, you were just like, yo, and then like sneakers and everything. Like before you
Yeah.
could really even get into it, you found it online and just started reading and researching.
Yeah, and I was more or less just impressed with the people that was like their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the fact that it seemed like these are just people that eat, slept, and breathed the shit that they were into, and I just thought that was so cool. So I was more or less like kind of just couldn't wait to get out of high school and just find a social niche like that. And the first one that
Yeah.
I gravitated to was cars because I was just so excited. Like cars were like the coolest shit to me. Like I could
So
never have like any of the cars that I fantasized about building, even when it came to Hondas. But as soon as I could, I bought a
yo, I was
Civic
gonna
Coupe.
say, what was on the list? Like, what were your first cars in sight, and what did you end up getting? Like, what were you thinking with, and like, what were the dream cars as you were looking?
As I was looking, like I really wanted. I remember I really wanted an RSX. I really wanted an S2000. Um, I had a weird inclination towards CRZs too
Yo, I
because
love
they're just like cool, and the Mugen kit for it is phenomenal. And I just kept
yes.
thinking about like how it would look with like a full Mugen kit. Once the reality started settling in that I needed to get an older Honda
Mhm.
based on like the fact that I had $2,500,
Yup.
I was just like, I was like, all right, let's get a little more real. And then I was looking. I remember in my search for my first car with the money I had, it was either going to be an EG, an EF, um, or then I was also inclined towards getting a Mark II GTI.
Oh, you were about to be a Volkswagen kid.
Yeah, the same week that I bought my Civic, I bought it like on a Wednesday, and then I remember I had talked to a guy to look at his GTI on that Friday. But I like as soon as I saw the Civic Coupe, I jumped at it and I bought it. and I never went to go see the Volkswagen. Like I always look back at that and like that could have changed so much shit.
Bro, I think about that a lot because I, like you, was a Honda kid to start. I started with a CRX, two
Oh
CRXs, and
shit.
then got an EG hatch. But all my friends were Volkswagen kids, and I was like, "Damn, what if?"
It was in,
What year Civic did you get?
I had a 92, so it was a EG coupe. It was
Yo,
yeah, it was red camellia pearl, which is like that purple that it came in.
yup.
But it was a heap of shit. Like a quarter of the car was literally made of Bondo and had like cracking on it, and it was just it had like a primered hood and a primered bumper. I never got them painted.
It's better
I
that way.
Yeah, I mean, I just like did what I could. But I remember the first thing I did was scrapped together some money and I got a used set of Tane coils, and I thought it was the coolest shit ever because I had Tane coilovers.
Dude, yes, I remember that. And I think like more so than the specific cars and parts, I think that the thing here that I am obsessed with and intrigued by is finding your own lane because I did the same thing. Like I was on Honda Tech when I was like 14 years old. For me, my forums were Honda Tech and Tampa Racing because I was in
Oh yeah,
Florida,
I
which
knew that was huge, even though I wasn't in Florida.
that I
Yeah.
was going to say that surprisingly people outside of Florida were still all about TR.
Hmm.
But for me, like finding forums, and it was like it wasn't necessarily the cars because you were even saying like you were on Nike Talk,
Yeah.
which I didn't find that side of it, and I'm curious on that too. But I think that when you start to find that, and you start to find that all this information and all these people are available, all of a sudden your immediate high school friends or whatever, like it doesn't matter, right? Like you
A
find this
hundred
subculture
percent.
and you're just in. And then I remember I was like going to car meets and stuff like that. And it was the first time of finding community and finding the idea of like understanding that you could find community and knowledge on the internet changed my life.
100% same for me. I think it's kind of like what broke me out of like the social hierarchy that exists when you're a teenager.
Yes.
That didn't exist in my mind because like I was just like, no, there's literally a cool world out there. Like I'm just constrained to this social hierarchy because I'm in this school, but like there's a
Dude,
whole fucking world out there.
you just said that so well. That's exactly what that is. So then what happens next? Like how does the journey keep going?
The journey keeps going relatively same as pretty much any car kid, but you know, the one thing that didn't I didn't have in the whole equation of being a car kid is money. So I was just always kind of just like I just always had like I had a period of ratty cars. You know, like I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
did what I could, but I'd always be at car meets like religiously. Like I remember every Wednesday night go to the local Ledgewood car meet, then every
Yes.
Thursday go to Edgewater meets, and then every Sunday I forgot where I went to another meet, but that was religiously every
Yep.
fucking week. I could not wait for Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and like
Dude.
that's what my life was for all the beginning of all that, and then creating small little social pockets like my local, like in the town that I lived in, there were kids that were into cars obviously and did what you know scrapped our money together to make our cars whatever we could, and we would just all cruise to the meets all the time, and that became my friend circle. Like the first time I had really people that I clicked with was outside of high school because I was just like finally like all these people are wired like kind of like me, like this is cool to
Yes.
them and we're all doing this together, and that's how I started like realizing that like I can build a life like
Dude,
like through this thing that's so cool to me.
it's insanely cool right now for me to be talking to you about this because I grew up in Florida, you grew up in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
And like it's the same story. It's the
100%.
same
That's what I
like
said.
I wonder like how many people like how impactful that was. Like I didn't think anything of it. It was all I knew.
Yeah,
But it's
and it was
crazy
all
to
that was cool to you
hear.
too.
Yeah. And like, dude, you say all the weekly meets, like, dude, we would go to Panchero every Thursday and it was like nothing else mattered. And if you had a new part on your car or if you fixed something or did something, you were so excited to share
Yeah.
that victory with the homies. And
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like
just
I moved to California with one of my now very best friends who I met at the Friday night pita pit meet. Like it's crazy.
it's insane. Yeah. I mean, yeah, through cars, I've literally met everyone that's actually completely changed my life, like somewhere along the road.
That's so
And
cool.
Yeah, and even when it comes to the whole music world, like the world is so small when you start getting into niche subcultures, and like if you just know one person in one subculture, it like links you to all these others, and
Yep.
it's so incredible.
Yeah. And it's like it's the common glue is people that get it. And I don't mean that in like a
Yeah,
clicky way. It's like a way of just that feeling of like, yo, we're all obsessed with this same thing and we'll go crazy if we can't do it. And I
yeah,
think when you find other people of that mindset, it's just game on.
yeah. It's cool. It's like I don't know. We all have like this sense of freedom that we feel like we've reached
Yeah.
because of like chasing something that we find enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes everyone equal minded when you get to that
Bro.
in those social communities.
So real. So the two questions I have there is at what point did photography come into it? And did you start like, cause I feel like being an internet kid, also being on like the sneaker forums and all that, there's like a hustle that comes with, you kind of learn like an internet hustle. You learn that you can buy and
Yeah,
sell. Like I was flipping car parts. Like I would pick up seats and wheels and flip them to make money. So
same.
like where does photography come in? And like what was like your early work in finding out like how to make a dollar look like?
I mean, work in general was a part of my life since I was 14. Like my first job was helping my father, who his evening job was being a janitor at a middle school, and I was in middle school at the time, and I would help him, and he would give me like $50 a week or something like that,
Damn.
for helping him every day. And then also when I was 14, I started working at a banquet hall, just being a busboy on the weekends.
Yeah.
So the hustle was always there of like, just because like if I wanted a cell phone, I had to be able to pay for it and then pay for it monthly. Like my parents were really good on like the whole no handouts thing and just kind of like teaching me like the importance of a dollar. So like if I wanted sneakers, like they at a certain point at 14 they cut me off. At 14, like if you want sneakers, you buy them yourself. If you want this T-shirt, you buy yourself. But it's cool because I learned how to make that money and I learned how to appreciate the stuff that I purchased with it, even though it wasn't much. Like there were kids that were getting these $150 sneakers from their parents and they would beat them up because like they didn't care. There was nothing important about them. To me, they're grails, even though they were general release sneakers. But like, you know what I mean? Like my shitty Civic, that like $2,500 that took a lot of work for me to put together at the time was a lot to me. Like that was like my thing. Like I washed that car like every other day. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was really cool. Working from such a young age really taught me the importance of a dollar, and working pretty much low end jobs. I was everything from a busboy to then a server there. I worked at a grocery store through high school for a bit. And then, yeah, flipping car parts was a big thing too. Cause once you get in the for sale part of those forums, of all those forums, you start realizing there's people making money off of like the shit they love.
Yeah.
And everything from like, I was flipping sneakers, I was flipping car parts and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that kind of like held me over. That would be like my extra funds for sneakers and car parts.
Yeah.
So,
Dude,
because
you
I would always
find that economy.
yeah, because I'd always think about wanting something that cost a certain amount, and I was like, okay, cool, I could sell this, and then I could put a little bit of this money from this check, and I can buy those wheels finally.
Yep. Yep. And then in
So
your head, you're like, and if I don't like them, I can flip them for this much and I'm only out $100 or I'm up 200, whatever.
exactly. So yeah, building cars became more of just kind of like flipping the money I already had because I just didn't have much to put into it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
it teaches that internet hustle, which is pretty cool.
dude, it's crazy how much I relate to that story. I love this.
Yeah.
So where does photography come in?
Photography didn't fall until I was in college, and basically, I was in school for graphic design. I graduated. I got a degree in advertising design, and in my first semester of college, I took a photography elective, and then I remember that most of the assignments were very open ended, and I was always doing car stuff. So I just always fulfilled my assignments, like shooting a friend's car or a car being involved or something. A car was always involved.
Yeah, that's your
So
interest. It makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then my free time was always through this camera that I bought for school. I'd always bring it with me, which was like a crop sensor Nikon D3100. And
Yes.
I just started becoming kind of rather obsessed with just like taking photos everywhere I went. Because I was doing in my head like the coolest shit ever, going to car meets, going to
Yeah.
local car meets. But like yeah, and I was just like always bringing my camera for all that stuff, and I fulfilled my all my assignments. And then after that class, I didn't even take another photography class. I just kept always shooting, like always, like for fun. Shooting just became like the very fun thing that I was obsessed with at that moment. And I just brought my camera along for everything, like from a car meet and just hanging around the city with my friends. I was big on in like that quote unquote urbex phase in like 2011, I think it was, or something, 2012. Like
Yeah. And were you posting, or were you just like, 2011? Like Instagram was not even, it wasn't
no,
really there yet. It's like Tumblr.
yeah, no. I at first I wasn't posting really, and maybe some cars photos that were like cool cars on Facebook and whatnot, maybe. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
wasn't
trying to
really.
think because there was like what, like Flickr, and you could post on the car forums.
Yeah,
Like
I
that was
remember on
cool.
Flickr I posted a lot, but I don't know. I never really did anything with it, and I also never considered myself a photographer because at the time
Oh,
I'd freelance as in design work, so I just always did it. That was like my fun thing to do, and I don't know. I just kept doing it and doing it. Like I just never had a goal in mind, and I never had an intention behind it. I just wanted to keep doing it,
yeah.
and I guess what developed from that is everything else.
Damn. So then where did it get like real? Because obviously now you're at a point where you're shooting these huge festivals, you're doing like very real, beautiful commercial work for like what, BMW and was it Bentley or Rolls?
Rolls,
It
yeah,
was
Rolls,
Rolls. Yeah, Rolls Royce.
yeah,
Like that's crazy. So
yeah.
did you get like a first paying job, or like what did that look like?
Um, what was in cars? The first paid photo. It wasn't actually even like a paid photo shoot. I remember um, I don't know if you remember the Death Cart, which was built in Pennsylvania. It was a 240 that ended up being a whole just chassis that kind of looked like a Mad Max car that ended up being a drift car. Um,
Kind of. I remember like
if
that
I showed you
became
a
a
picture,
trend.
yeah, and it was the car that started that trend.
Okay.
Basically, one day he was a good friend, and we went to his shop, and we just like I just shot around his shop, and then like I shot his car outside. He did some like donuts around me, and I like shot that. And then a couple months later, when I'm like flipping through Super Street, it was like on a spread, that photo, and I was like, wait. That's insane, but I also didn't get $1 for this.
Yeah, like you're like so stoked, and then you're
Yeah,
also like, what the fuck is happening?
yeah. It literally it was a big what the fuck is happening because I was like, that's my photo. It's on the spread in Super Street. I'm like at a bookstore right now, and like that's my photo.
Dude.
So I mean, it was just because like the owner of the car had submitted that photo to them, and they did an article on the car, and they shot it themselves, but they wanted that photo too, and they thought they just had like rights to it because the owner gave it to them. But they ended up paying me
Oh,
uh,
cool.
for using that shot, and that was like the first time I was like, oh, I can make money off shooting cars. That's cool.
Yo, I bet you
But
the
I never,
gears were turning.
yes, in the sense, but no, in the like, I was just like, I'm not trying to pursue this professionally. I
Oh,
still wasn't.
okay.
I still
Whoa.
wasn't. Yeah, I didn't. I had followed and admired so many people that were great at this profession that I was just like, that's their world. I don't
Yeah.
dare, you know, pass the gatekeepers.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
I got kind of like pulled through the gates in a sense. Like
Yeah.
I never had the intention to professionally pursue any of this.
So then
It
what
was,
happened? Because you were in college. Did you think that you were going to go down a different path?
yeah, I thought I was going to work in the agency as a designer. I thought I was going to work my way
Oh,
up and just be a graphic designer and then an art director. And I thought that was my path. But once I'm trying to think when it really got real. I freelanced as a designer for. Do you remember Tune Revolution where we actually met where Beth introduced us that
yeah.
car
I
show?
want to say it was in Anaheim at the convention center, 2018.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
2013, I think it was 2013. I started working for them freelance as a designer.
Okay.
But I also would produce the recap films,
Yeah.
and I'd coordinate like the vehicles that were in it and locations and stuff like that. And I'd also bring my camera along while my friend Anthony would shoot the films. I would also just shoot BTS of that.
Yeah.
And I'd also get paid for that. And then that's kind of like when I started taking seriously getting paid for photo and design work. And I worked with Tune Revolution up till last year, actually.
Okay. So
As
that was a
a,
big piece. Like doing the
yeah,
stuff with Tuner Evolution was important.
100%. Yeah, because I was working for myself and shooting and designing. And then I kind of got to use that as a figuring out what was more important to me, or what was, I don't know, what I was better at and enjoyed more. And then
Yeah.
in the field stuff, I started enjoying more and more because like it felt more real to me. Like designing is great, it's cool, and it's something I can do, but it didn't feel tangible. It didn't feel like I was doing anything in a sense. And shooting just started feeling a lot more real to me and a lot more experiential and a lot more like I was doing something that like when I look back on my life, I'd be happier looking back on that than like behind my computer.
That's a super like self-aware woke thing to think about and listen like internally to yourself to get to that point, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think it was really that conscious of a decision. I think in hindsight, I can consciously think of it that way, but I think it was more just my inclination towards the experiential stuff. It was just like more and more. Like I just want more of this,
Yeah.
and um, and yeah, and working close with Anthony, who would shoot all the films for Tune Revolution. I started working a lot with him outside of Tune Revolution and with the production company that he works for still. We all work for them still, called A1 Visuals, that are based out of New Jersey. And they were my real first push into commercial work and like the professionalism of it all. Like
Oh,
I worked with like Rolls
crazy.
Royce through them and whatnot. And that was the puzzle piece that kind of clicked me from the grassroots world into the professional world.
Yeah. And was A1 associated with Tuner Evolution at all? Or like how did
No,
that?
no, no. That was just their production company based out of New Jersey, and
Mm,
they do a lot of automotive work. So they sought out Anthony.
got it.
You know Mike Koziel, right?
Didn't he? I absolutely should. He did something huge. Uh, did he have the BMW, the rusty BMW?
No, no,
Stance
no, no,
Works? No.
no. You're thinking of Mike Stansworks, but
Okay.
Mike Koziel, he actually lives out there in LA now, but I know him from the car scene back in Jersey. He's a DP and a filmmaker. Uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know him.
yeah, he was actually at race service the other day. I should introduce you
Damn
guys.
it. That's funny. Shouts
Yeah,
to RS for bringing the world of automotive together in person.
that's so cool. Yeah, that whole thing of just bringing that world together is so cool.
My favorite
Uh,
place in the world.
yeah, but yeah, so A1 had a roster of just people that were working in grassroots automotive because they were trying to get into the commercial automotive world with needing talent. So they kind of like went into the grassroots
Oh.
and got Anthony, Mike Koziel, and eventually me, and
So
we
they were
kind
a
of
smart company.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they knew the right place to look to get real talent.
For sure. And at
Yeah.
the time, we were like, none of us were really peak or like as good as we are right now. I think it was like perfect timing for everyone.
Yeah.
And it developed into all of us taking on these pretty big projects and growing with them.
That's
So
amazing.
that's been the big bridge into the whole professionalism of it, because I really wasn't taking it that serious until I guess until people took me serious. I wasn't taking myself serious until other people were taking me serious. And like some people would just call me a photographer, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not a photographer." And they're like, "No, look at this, you are."
Yeah, dude, that's too real. I feel it.
Yeah, so I kind of just let the domino pieces just fall, like kind of just like let life take me,
Dude,
because it started getting cooler and cooler the more I let life just pull me. So
that's amazing. So paint that picture. So like you start to get the commercial work. Like what are some of the projects that they were giving you? Like what did that look like?
it started being pretty eventy. They just like had like me doing a lot of event work at first. That within the event work, that, like for example, like there would be a Rolls Royce event, and then they would also pull me outside to do like a full shoot of what the display vehicle that they had. there, and then kind of just like edit it in a way that like looked like a commercial shoot in a sense, and kind of like steered away from the event stuff a little bit more and started getting more into just I think last year was that I went to LA and they shipped a Phantom out to LA, and like for 6 days I was just shooting a Phantom in LA, like driving it around and everything, and just like taking it wherever I wanted to, and just giving
So
whatever I got
sick.
from it.
And didn't you
Yeah,
do one out like in the snow? Like it was like the craziest looking like winter shots.
yeah. I was out in Aspen. It was crazy.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
yeah, so it went started like that's why I said so the company started. We were all at the same level, kind of like just trying to like get out of where we are and kind of like use the crutch of event work to kind of build us up within the companies that we work for.
yeah, that makes sense. And then where does music come into it? Because the work that you have done in music is ridiculous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where does that happen?
Yeah, so with being an internet kid and with finding the shit that was cool to me, is where I started finding music on the internet, because I was never inclined to anything that I was really hearing.
Mhm.
So I started finding pockets of music elsewhere and just finding stuff that was cool to me. Really early on, like it was really, really early before internet music. I was just really into like Atlanta trap music and like Chicago drill music and all this shit that was just like such an exaggerative, like hard, like out of this world to me, at least.
Yeah.
People just saying hard shit. Like that was just so cool to me. And then I
Totally.
started using the internet to find people that were kind of like influenced by that elsewhere. And like, like there was Keith Ape, the Korean trap artist, and like I found shit like that so cool, because that's like some dude that like grew up in Korea, but like grew up also listening to like Waka Flocka and all this stuff, and then wanted to like put like crazy 808s and trap beats on his stuff. Like that type of stuff just started becoming really cool to me.
Yeah.
And after high school, when I was like in college, I just go to shows a lot alone and whatnot, because I was always in the city.
Mm.
And I used to intern at a clothing brand in Brooklyn while I was in college, and I'd go to a lot of shows in Brooklyn because I'd just get out of my internship and go to the shows, and I always had my camera with me. So, and the underground shows, it's just like you walk in and like they just check your bag, but you could walk in with a camera. Like they're just warehouse shows.
Yeah.
But this is the people I was really into, so it was cool to me. And at one point, I just kind of like started like using my camera, because I would literally have my camera in my backpack, but just I'd be moshing in a crowd or something like that, and not really like cared to shoot what I was. But I was like, fuck it, let me just bring my camera out. And it was at I don't know if you know Sesh Hollow Water Boys, which is like Xavier Wolf and Bones.
Yeah. Well, that's another
Okay.
really cool piece, because Xavier Wolf is like kind of one of the only car music people.
Yeah. And it was a warehouse show that they did in Brooklyn, and I took photos. It might be some of the crappiest music photos I've ever took in my life. I was like in a fucking mosh pit, like just getting my face beat, basically, just trying to get like whatever I could get.
Yeah.
And like I remember my backpack got torn apart. Like I had like homework just fucking like on the ground. But I was just like, this is kind of cool. Like this is such a chaotic environment, and like even though the images I got weren't, there was a lot of like beauty in the madness of those photos that I got, and I kind of fell in love with that at that particular moment. And I remember emailing them to their tour manager, which is Bones' brother, and they actually loved the photos. And I remember that same night, Bones posted one of them and tagged me on Instagram, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" And he followed me and DM'd me, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yo.
This day, Bones is a really, really good friend of mine, and that kind of just gave me the first, like literally the first time shooting a show, and just an immediate ego boost in a sense, and an immediate like sense of accomplishment. And I was just in an immediate sense of like, oh, I can do something with this. It gave me like it was like a trampoline push, not even like a little, like pat in the back. That was just like, I don't know. I wanted to run with that. That felt that whole night, that whole experience felt so great to me, and I kind of just wanted to run with that. So I kept bringing my camera to shows, and it was really easy at the time because most of these artists weren't big. Like I took my camera to a Suicide Boys show once, and this was like 120 people there at the venue. It was really easy to shoot them, and
Yeah, like you were
I guess that
so
goes with what
early
you
on
were
all
saying.
that.
Yeah, you were saying about like just keeping my ear to things that were cool early on helped a
Yeah.
lot in the long run. Just organically enjoying these individuals helped a lot because I was able to shoot them, and their access to them was so easy. Emailing them stuff was so easy then. Like their emails would literally be on their Twitters.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
at that time they wanted people to contact them. So stuff like that, it kind of helped me in the beginning a lot because it was easy to just get stuff out. And like
Yeah.
even Keith Ape, I remember I shot a show for him for the promotional company that was throwing a show for him in New York City. It was such an easy exchange of like email and just get to shoot the show. And it was such a chaotic, crazy experience. Like I was on stage with him and like shooting him, and even the photos came out insane. And that might have been the second or third time I ever shot a show. And it just became really easy to get my photos, like, to get photos, like to get access to take photos of these people and to get it to them.
Dude.
And that started like a really big domino effect.
Well, like you said two things there that just blew my mind, where one is like even earlier in your story, it kind of takes somebody else believing in you first, where you're like, everyone's calling you a photographer and you're like, oh, I guess, right? So it's like you send them those photos, they post them, they follow you. You're like, oh, wait, shit, maybe this was like, it's crazy how such talented people don't see it until somebody else does. And it really feels like that happened. And then the other piece that's blowing my mind is like just not chasing what's cool and fads. You were just on the internet. And another piece, like we didn't really talk about you following fashion or anything like that, but I would like that's another huge piece that influences music and culture. So if you're on all of those forms as well, if you're a designer, like you're just listening and following what you fuck with.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what it's always been from the beginning, which is, I guess, what's even made it more self-gratifying in a sense. You know, it's only been what is cool to me always.
like that's such a cool thing to hear. I love hearing that story because I don't like the stories of people compromising with their reality and being like, well, I tried and this was whack, so now I'm over here doing something that I sort of love. You're like, nah, like every single thing you see me doing, I love it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a double-edged sword because also things I enjoy and the career path that I've chosen has also become popularized in a sense, and it's kind of like it's really made like a really big mixed batch, and there's people that are really it all seems really cool to them, and then when they start doing it, they're like not fulfilled. They're putting out great work and they're doing all the motions, but there's no sense of self-fulfillment. And like I don't know, there's some people that they're dying to shoot Post Malone, for example, but they actually love trees. And I'm just like, why don't you, pursue that? If you really fuck with trees, like you can really do something with that. Like you don't have to do something that like just seems cool to you. You can do something that's actually cool to you. Dude, I think there's a
big, go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a big double-edged sword with things that seem cool. Yeah. Rather than just following your, what you think is awesome.
That I think you're right. Like that's a double-edged sword of the internet because you see all these people and you see things that look so cool. And it's like, does it look so cool because it's somebody who's authentically absolutely in love with it? And of course it's going to look cool because they obsess over it and they see the best angle of it and they have all of the understanding. So now that it looks so cool, people that don't understand it want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Like it's relatively easy to replicate too.
Exactly.
So it misleads a lot.
Yeah, it is. That's a really interesting perspective that I didn't really think about. But okay, so you were telling me though, so you started shooting those shows, you're on stage with Keith Abe, and it keeps going. Like it's more and more on the music side as well.
Yeah, it was kind of slow at first, but it was like I was just kept going underground shows and kept keeping in contact with promoters in New York City that were throwing these shows. And like I said, it was really easy to, like looking back on it, like these were people that are huge now. Like if I think about like shooting Such Hollow Water Boys, then Puya, Suicide Boys, Keith Ape, Playboy Cardi. I remember I shot a show for him and it was not that many people and it was in Queens. And, just thinking back on it, it was so easy. I hate to say how easy it was, but it was so easy. It was because it was so organic.
Well, there's gonna be another wave of that, right? Like right now, as we're
right
talking,
now it's happening, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that was probably like 2016.
Yeah. I think between 15 and 17 was like that whole me just kind of like getting my feet wet and all that. I think it was 2016 actually. Okay, so everything kind of changed, or not kind of changed, but changed a good amount when I met Beth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is really cool that we have that in common. So in 2015 at SEMA, I was there shooting for Acura, rest in peace Acura, because they went out of business this week.
Dude, so sad.
Crazy. But yeah, I was shooting for Acura, and we had mutual friends, and we knew each other through Instagram. So we were like, cool, we could finally meet and hang out. So we met at SEMA, and we just became like really great friends from that point on. The following spring, she shoots for Rhymesayers, who throws the festival Soundset. Yeah. And she asked me if I could shoot Soundset Festival with her. That was the first time I like got a festival thrown at me, and I was like, "Holy shit!" like let's go! and that was the big change. That escalated everything when it came to music, because that was just everything.
That's insane.
Like, yeah.
Also, like, just the biggest shouts to Beth. Like, she is such a good natural catalyst. Like, she is so good at just connecting people and seeing those lines. That's so cool to hear in your story that was such a big piece.
It was literally the bridge between automotive and music. That's it right there.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense though, right? Because like I've seen you guys shoot Rolling Loud together, and like Yeah.
So after she got me on Soundset, then a lot of things in music started just clicking, and knowing that, more people, it just all starts falling in place more and more. Yeah. And then when it came to Rolling Loud, I was the one who sought about getting myself, Beth, and Mike Oziel on Rolling Loud's media team.
Oh.
As kind of like more of like, I wanted to work on Rolling Loud's media team, but I also wanted to return the favors that Mike and Beth did to me of building me these inroads in the music industry, and it worked. I was able to get in contact with their media director. I sent him a pitch deck proposing us to join the team, and Beth wasn't actually able to do that first Rolling Out with us because she was booked for something else. But me and Mike Oziel went to Miami and shot that Rolling Loud, and then it's been a really, really tight relationship with them since then for all three of us.
Dude.
And it felt really good to be able to do that, because like they did so much for us. Like I feel like even doing something as like putting them on the world's biggest hip hop festival is still not enough like of a return of a favor. Yeah. But it felt good to be able to do that for sure.
How do you have the idea to do the pitch deck? Like I feel like not everyone would take that initiative.
Yeah, and that's actually why I immediately got an email back and a phone call, because most people were not reaching out like that. Yeah. And the way I told Beth and Mike about it was, if we were going to reach out, it had to be like as correct as possible. Yeah. And it's great because like since I had a design background, I knew that like if and when you want to show an idea to someone, you build a deck in order to like, have some sort of visuals and be able to go through it with someone. So I wanted to just send them a deck that would just like highlight, who we were, what we can offer, not really be a more of like, let us shoot this so we can get these cool photos. It was more of like, this is who we are and this is what we can offer. let's talk about this. And they really enjoyed that aspect because most people just hit them up and just like will send a link to their Instagram and be like,
Yep.
let me shoot, bro. Like something
Yep.
like that. Like we'll actually email their media director, something like that, like just informal.
Yeah.
And I thought it just, the importance of the festival deserved a kind of like a very formal yet just like not overly done deck. And it
That
worked. It worked. I immediately got an email, like literally 7 minutes after sending that, I got an email back with from the media director saying, "This is my number. Give me a call."
Dude, that's a really cool piece of this to hear. And I think that there's a lesson in that, right? Like anybody listening, anybody that's like, how do I get that next step? It's like, don't just do the normal thing. Like think about it. Like what's the best version you can present? What's something different? Like that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like reaching that next level in your career, you have to put together like the best version of you forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to get to that next level, and it worked flawlessly when it came to that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you then followed it with a great product. But
Yeah,
that's kind of to be expected if you had that vision and you took the time to do that. That's
that was the goal. I was like, if we land this, we got to show like really show our worth.
yeah.
And
And that, I mean, that pretty well, did I skip anything? Like that's pretty much your life now, right? Like you're doing commercial work for Automotive, you're
mm-hmm.
shooting festivals, all sorts of different music. Like that pretty much takes you to the final form. Tell me if I missed anything? Sorry.
That's pretty much everything. Yeah, it was literally just everything almost kind of just, I don't know. It's so weird, dude. When I look back on it, it almost becomes hazy because everything kind of almost happened on its own, but it was because I was drawn to these things organically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, I love that, right? Like that's why I love doing this podcast. That's why I like taking the time to rewind because it's so easy to look at where people are at now and say must be nice. But when you take the time to go through the steps, you're like, damn, that was a lot, huh?
It was because like I think if we did skip anything, it was just the years of me playing with a camera.
Yeah.
Like I did not touch a camera until my adult life. So, most people that you speak with or most people I speak with, at least in my career, they first touched the camera as a kid. My own girlfriend, there's like photos of her as a child, playing around with the camera, and she's a photographer nowadays too.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my case. It wasn't my story at all. It was, I started fiddling with a camera as an adult.
Yeah.
And I just saw it as a good avenue to show all the stuff that was cool to me. Like I was just like, all this stuff has been so cool to me for so long, and now I have a tool to present it in a way that I'd like to show it. It was like, yeah, it was like the perfect tool.
Amazing. I love that so much. Another thing I wanted to pick your brain on a little bit is in that lane, like creatives, I mean, you said that piece about not doing what's cool to other people. And I so much love that. And like the steps, like it just feels like you've done this in the most authentic way. And another thing that I see you doing authentically, which I see others not, is you have a way, like you have presets and you'll do prints every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel spammy at all. It's a beautiful product. And I'm just curious what you think, like being more on the, I guess, freelance or creative side. It's not always easy to figure out your weekly income, right? Like it's not just like a 9 to 5 check. I think you've done a
100%.
really good job with that. Like, how did you get to that spot and like, how do you navigate doing that?
100%. Yeah. Like you said, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not a weekly check. So, some of these companies are net 90. So it's been a lot of figuring out the day by day, they're getting the bills paid and whatnot. And I also didn't want to sacrifice, being gimmicky or downplaying. I find my work rather special, and I do want to treat it as such. So I didn't want to just downplay it in a sense, or just come off gimmicky. So when it came down to offering the prints, I spent a really long time just curating the images that I feel are appropriate to offer. because I know that people put them in their offices, in their homes, in their bedrooms and whatnot.
Yeah.
So a large amount of time is just going photo for photo of just everything in my catalogs for a prolonged period of time, and just really just treating it as special as the images are to me, and offering them for a certain span of time, offering just a certain amount of them, and hoping that people purchase them, and they do, and it helps me substantially. It helps me do the next thing I want to do. Like, selling prints helped me curate a book and help me sell a photo book. So
I didn't know you did a photo book.
Yeah, I dropped it last summer.
Bro, what?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called I Have No Idea What I'm Doing, but I'm working on it.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, damn, that's so sick.
Yeah, so being able to do that sort of stuff and being able to have a sort of a following of individuals that enjoy it and even purchase the stuff has been a huge help in that the in between of receiving that freelance check.
Yeah, dude, I feel that.
Yeah. And same thing with the preset packs. I tried to keep them as non-gimmicky as possible. Actually, be a helpful tool. Like I spent so much time just looking at different situations that I was shooting and creating a preset appropriate to not only like fixing things that like of lighting, especially when you start shooting, you are shooting crappy venues, at least in music. And I tried to curate stuff to battle bad lighting, harsh colors, things of that nature. And just by creating those presets and by people having seeing how certain sliders affect certain colors, it'd be more educational in a sense. I'm not really trying to have people live off my presets. I'm trying to have people learn off of them and then make their own adjustments.
I was just going to say that. Again, I've only I dabble, I have fun with photography, but that's not my lane. But I'll hear people hate on presets, but I think those people are missing the point. It's not to just cop somebody's style and be like, look, I look just like you now, and that's going to be my ticket to success. It's just somebody else's eye, and it's a different perspective that then might trigger an understanding and challenge you to look at an image differently and then find your style.
100%. And actually, it's funny because I always shied away from offering presets because, in a sense, I was like, I don't want to give people my sauce. Right? Yeah. I was just like, I don't know, man. I worked so hard to build my stylistic approach to things, and it's like literally giving them the Krabby Patty secret formula. But my good friend Anthony, he put things in perspective for me because he's a filmmaker, but he also makes his own beats and sometimes his own music that goes on his films. And he was explaining to me, he's like, listen, I buy beat packs from certain producers so I can, make my beats, but I cannot make what they make, even though I purchased their beat packs. And I was like, it's like the same thing as giving someone the same tool set you use to build your car. Yeah. But if they don't have your exact approach, the car is going to come out different.
Yeah. Your taste, your eye, your style.
Yeah. So it's been cool. It's been cool seeing people use it and, kind of use them in their way, because everyone's work that they've sent me has come out so different and so elevated. It's really cool. It's I've
probably challenges you. You'll look at things differently and be like, damn.
100%. It's been really cool, actually. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that I curated preset packs specifically for concert photography and specifically for automotive, because I felt like I could actually give tools, actually give stuff that's usable.
Yeah. Dude.
So it felt really good. It felt really good to do that.
No, that's really cool. I respect that, because I feel like, I don't know, at least for me, I feel like I can see through what's authentic and what isn't. You can feel that. People aren't stupid. Yeah. So when you see people doing those gimmicky things and all that, you're like, sick, I get it, you're broke. But I didn't feel that. I felt like you legitimately were like, this is something cool. This means something to me and I want to share it.
Yeah, 100%. And it felt really good that so many people were inclined to purchase them and try them out, and then also put their touch on it.
Yeah,
because that was the whole point of it, like was for people to use it as a tool, not to use it as like a finished product.
so sick.
It's been really
So another question I have is what's next? Like you've done so much, right? Like you've followed your compass, you've accomplished all of this. What what are the next like what's the next round of goals?
man, I really don't even know. I honestly don't like building a structure as much as like you should have a structure to your life and a structure to your goals. Not pursuing something is what got me to where I'm at. And I kind
Whoa.
of like want to let that wave, keep doing its thing.
You're down for the ride.
I'm down for the ride. Yeah. Cause like, dude, what if I constrain myself to an idea and I go off path of like wherever this is taking me,
Yeah.
So I'm more like I'm along for the ride.
Dude, that's so
Because
sick.
it's the shit I love. So like like I'm never gonna not like where it takes me.
Right. Yeah. Like as long as you stay doing stuff that you love, as long as you follow that, it doesn't matter what the form or the vessel is of that.
Exactly. That's pretty much where I see it right now.
That's
You
so
know,
fire.
right now the whole world's on a standstill, and I kind of just have to like I'm kind of just standing idle. Just like waiting. For the world to pick back up, and then attack it accordingly.
Yeah. Has that been weird as a creative? Like so much of your work is live events and travel and all that.
Yeah, it's really really strange. Honestly, like through the winter and like through the previous months, you kind of like mentally prepare yourself for these months of like the chaos and like literally like getting a phone call today and being in a different country tomorrow. It's like all that chaos and the sporadicness of my life and my career is not happening for a very
Yeah.
it's not gonna the only phone calls I'm getting is like this festival got canceled. We're not going to be able to do it. This not going to have you for this show because the show got canceled. And like,
God.
this shoot got moved to next year, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the only calls I'm getting right now. And I just have to like stay optimistic, like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, one day I'll pick up again. And then wherever my trajectory is going is going to continue going. So I'm just kind of like, just really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing that doesn't change is like your passion and love for the interests that you have doesn't go away. It's not like you're going to
Not at all.
stop looking at, the cars and the builds and the artists and the inspiration.
If anything, it's like it's rekindled a lot of that. Like when you are very, very in it, when you're like at a festival one day and on a commercial shoot the next day, blah blah. You maybe, at least I started getting jaded like last year. I started getting jaded to things, and I right now my perspective is I really took all that for granted, and I really like should have enjoyed that a little bit more. But the whole repetitive factor of everything, and like yeah, I remember the first time I was shooting that festival with Beth in Minneapolis, and I was in front of 40,000 people, like shooting on that stage that big. It was insane to me. And now it's just like it's the same thing as like going for a walk in the park for me. And I think all that kind of like being removed from my life forcefully um, has shed like a reappreciation and a rekindling of like how good I had it and how good all that really is.
Dude, that is big, big facts. I feel like all of us are going to come back to this with the biggest smiles. We're going to be so excited at these events, like everything.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you really start thinking about everything that your life encompassed before this, and you're just like, shit, life was good. Life
Yeah.
was fucking good.
It was
You miss hugging
nice.
the homies,
Yeah.
like
God, it's too real. Too real. Similar on that line, anywhere, I always like this question of anywhere in your career, if there was ever like a tough spot, like wherever it felt the most uncertain, what spot do you go to and what do you tell yourself with the knowledge that you have now?
hmm. It's interesting because yeah, things have reached rock bottom several times. Like it's definitely not an easy road freelancing and doing it on your own, and that whole road is like it's like taking like the harder route because it's filled with so much uncertainty. so much net 60 that turns into net 90, so much like, you know, sometimes even clients just not paying, and, you know, like you can't afford to take them to court. And, you know, it's a lot of that stuff. So it's a lot of hitting rock bottom. And I think failing has prepared me better than anything I could have ever done, because I've failed hard several times in this journey. And just the pickup from failure, it just turns you like into a new human, or a new form of yourself, and even like a better version of yourself. I almost start looking forward to failure, because like when things are really good, like I said, I get really jaded, and I start forgetting the importance of everything. But a good rock bottom goes a long way.
Dude,
You know, it's strange.
Crazy you say that, because I feel that honestly that's a common theme and answer in some very successful people that I've talked to, is like you can learn the most and become the best version of yourself when you embrace the failures.
Yeah, dude, like you have to fail. Like, okay, no, you don't have to, but dude, it's like, it's the most humanizing thing you could do.
Yeah.
Going after something that like in your heart is something that you want to do, and then full on falling on your face is like, you picking up takes so much of you and so much actual love for what you're doing, that it puts you in a better place.
That was beautifully said. I really like, that's a great answer, dude. Thank you for that. Damn. I mean, fuck, we hit our hour. This was
Dang,
amazing.
really?
Yeah.
No
It
shit.
flies. I wanted to talk to you about drifting now. You've built your car.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible. But I don't know, man. Maybe once you get back to when things get back to normal and you're back out in LA, we can do a part 2 and just talk about the now or something.
I'd love to. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be actually really good. We could revisit, you know, how this path continues now when things get a little normal.
Actually, yeah, that'd be really fun. Yeah, like to just see like life after Corona, like what opportunities have come up, what you're doing, what that ended up looking like. That'd be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I'm totally down for it.
All right, we're doing that. Where can everyone find you? If they want to check out your work, if they want to buy a print or a preset or just follow you, what's the best place to find you?
Instagram is normally the best at Rodriguez 92, and that's the same on Twitter too.
Perfect. S Rodriguez 92.
Yes, sir.
Boom. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you, man. This conversation has been beyond delightful. I can't believe the whole hour already has passed.
It's crazy, bro. It rips by. I feel like in my head, I'm always trying to like kind of keep the meter and like keep it going, because I personally will like want to just talk about Honda tech for an hour. Like I want to be like, yo, what form were you in?
We touched on so many like things that I wish we could just dedicate all the time in the world to, but
no, yeah. I think cool. We did good. I think we had a good for the kind of people we are and for how obsessive we can get over little niche things. I think that flowed real well.
Yeah. No, and I'd like to say also this conversation was long overdue, because we always see each other more or less in passing. So I'm glad we got to actually sit down and do this picking of brains.
I feel like at least myself, like I'll have a feeling about people, right? Like there'll be little tiny things and I'm like, I think they get it. And then when that feeling is right and you have a conversation like this, it's just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Know exactly what you mean.
That's so sick.